Alright, we are recording, so click back into the game. It's Mad Max still. Key was originally provided by WB Games 2015? I think that's when released. It does not feel like it's only been a week. This has been a long week for me, so. I do have some notes. I'm just looking at them to try to remember some of it. Okay, yeah. And let me see. Didn't I find? Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Oh. Yep. Okay. So the first thing I have on the list, and it's kind of time sensitive. So THQ Nordic has turned 10. Is turning 10? I don't remember exactly when their anniversary is, but they're celebrating it. And part of how they're celebrating it is by having two, well, obviously they're doing a sale on Steam, but there's also two games that they're just giving away for the length of the sale, which I think goes until September 23rd, so you have time to pick them up as well as the other THQ Nordic games. But one is Jagged Alliance, which I will admit I am not really familiar with. Any of those games. I did, pick that one up because why not? I won't refuse a free game. And the other is Titan Quest Anniversary Edition, which is quite good. It's like that definitely I would recommend picking up. Yeah, and you have a week to decide too, but I mean it really is good. And also part of the celebration was a showcase that they had earlier today. Ah, crap, it looks like I might possibly I'm being followed. And when you go off-road, you really slow down in this game. Part of the showcase, they announced multiple new games, which I think I kind of mentioned. I didn't really get into specifics, but when they originally mentioned that they were doing the showcase, it did say that they would be announcing so many games, and that Jeff Keighley would be the host for it. That was it, but it's like I didn't see that as public knowledge, so I didn't talk about it. I had no advanced knowledge of the specific games. There very possibly were some outlets that were, but that would be, the outlets that are much closer to them. But let me see. We had Superpower 3. Superpowers? Grand Strategy RTS type games, which I mean it looked interesting. I'm not familiar with that franchise, but I could definitely see it being interesting. Destroy All Humans 2, SpongeBob SquarePants: The Cosmic Shake, and Outcast 2, which, to put it simply, looking at the trailer that they shared for that one, it's like, this seems like a franchise I'd enjoy. Maybe I should look into the original. Well, this is bad for me. Oh, wait. Damn it. Oh. I killed him. I meant to... Damn it. I meant to blow him up. It just occurred to me. I'll actually lose him once I get to the minefield, because he will not go into it. There was also MX versus ATV Legends, I think was announced. They talked some more. They talked some more about Expeditions Rome. I think that's the name of it. I didn't make a note on that one. And they shared a story trailer for Elix 2. And they also shared something else at the end, which is that they have 41 games currently in development, and 28 have not been announced yet. Which I'm sure that was meant to appease the people that, are like, where's Darksiders 4? Which I saw a lot of that when I was watching the stream on YouTube. There were a lot of people asking that exact question. Well, we're just saying DS4, DS4, DS4 all the time. Yeah, I can't fault them. I would like to see a Darksiders 4 too. Well, that took care of one of them. And that's why you do not step on mine. In this game or in life if you can avoid. Okay. Yeah. I need to repair it. But just one thing, because, you know, I stopped and I thought about the stuff, you know, with the whole, you know, Darksiders 4 not being announced or teased or anything. So, I'm pretty sure that the timeline for making a video game is typically, you know, moderate size. I want to, like, you know, AA, and some AAA games, like 2-3 years. But they, you know, average, you can also see games go up to 5 years to develop. How old is Darksiders 3 now? Is that 3 years, I think? Which would mean, in theory, you could have, if they started on Darksiders 4 the day Darksiders 3 released, in theory, you would have, you could have Darksiders 4 today. Or at least be ready to show something today.
This could work as cover.
But that's not how things work. I mean, that's not how things work. They would not have started on it immediately after. Because they'd want to do a post-mortem kind of thing on Darksiders 3. Like, just figuring out, okay, what did people like, what did they not like? Because remember, that, you know, was the first game in the franchise for how many years? And Darksiders 3 and Darksiders 2 are not that much alike. Darksiders 3 is in some ways closer... True, it's been a while since I played them. Darksiders 3, I want to say, is more akin to Darksiders 1. There are still plenty of differences, but there are certain elements of how the experience feels that makes it more like 1 than 2. But definitely, it has RPG elements like 2 had.
You're back. What now?
But regardless, my point is just that, yeah, it's allowing some time for them to figure out, okay, what worked, what didn't, also to work on the DLC. Excuse me. Of Darksiders 3, you would not have Darksiders 4 except in a, hey, we can show off a teaser at best at this point. So, yeah, it's... There we go. Where do I want to head at? I'll actually head over there and basically do clockwise.
Wait here.
I was hoping for more than that. Let's get my help. Yeah, and also there's... Darksiders Genesis, I would say, doesn't need to factor into the development directly, because I don't think that was the same company. But it may still have, as far as just how did people respond to it, what did people like, what did they not like. Like, that kind of stuff would have... I could see that having some influence, but otherwise, no, probably not too much. But also, I would feel like just acknowledging Darksiders 4, in theory, would be the one to wrap up the series. Because it should be the the Strife one, and I mean, we have to get back to where Darksiders 1 ended. I mean, if you didn't have Darksiders 4, let's end it, it would be the penultimate game, whereas Darksiders 4 would set up Strife prior to the end of Darksiders 1, and then a Darksiders 5 would wrap it all up. So, it's like they would want to take their time with that. Don't see anything else here. And as somebody who really has enjoyed the Darksiders games, I want them to take their time. I mean, I'm fine with being patient. And speaking about being patient, Battlefield 2042 has been delayed until October? Did I put down the date? Sorry, no, it was going to be released in October. It's now releasing November 19th, and EA is blaming the impact of the pandemic, which, you know, I do wonder kind of at what point that's not going to be used. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that they're not requesting that they don't want... I'm not suggesting that the delay is in any way in bad faith. Not at all. If anything, it's more I'm laughing at, making fun of, mocking, however you want to put it, having sarcasm towards how some see it as unreasonable release dates, where you have a game that ends up releasing like a month or more, in this case, potentially a month, earlier than it should have. But that with the pandemic, it gave the great excuse for why you can avoid that. And it also, don't forget, at the same time that a lot of reporting was done on crunch, developer crunch, and how horrible that is for developers to go through. And so there was an effort, there was a desire, a will to try to reduce that. So it has kind of been, you know, for addressing that, a good confluence of things, but it is, I will also laugh, it's like, how long are we going to keep blaming the pandemic? Because I could believe that, you know, you could get back to everything being the previous normal, not the new normal, but the previous normal, the original normal, and still be like, well, we're getting back into the swing of doing that, so we're still not quite, you know, it's still a pandemic that's causing us to delay things, but it's like, no, it's fine. But it is also, not everyone is like me, and potentially like you, if you also somebody that is like, yeah, delay the game, just make it a good game. There are going to be people that's like, no, I want to play the game then, or also just on principle saying things like, no, you gave us that release date, you should stick to the release date. And I can definitely understand that kind of hard line there. But yeah, it's just doesn't bother me. And by the way, that was impressive. Did you see that? Well, of course you saw it because it was in the video. How it glitched, that he was inside of that in order to eat that food, but what did it do? He just rose up through it so he'd be on top. Because when I spotted that he was in there, I was like, oh crap, am I going to be stuck? The answer is no. It took care of it. Now, I don't know exactly if that was a, hey, we need to cover the situation, or if it is just how they have that situation covered in general. You know, like, it might not have been a, oh yeah, we've got a way that people can get stuck under this, we should fix that, or if it was just a, somebody designed it that way to be careful. I'm gonna get a drink. So bad. Yeah, legitimately there's a reason I will refer to QA as protecting people from exposing their own stupidity. And my point with just they may have just designed that to basically handle the situation of somebody, what happens if somebody gets stuck there. It's like that could be somebody very smart, somebody who isn't stupid there. But it can be stupid in other ways. I mean, everybody is stupid. Every time I write a typo, I'm being stupid.
Wait here.
That's why an editor, would protect me from being stupid. That's why I also edit my own stuff, because I don't have an editor. Well, except for the review editor people, for those articles. But I mean, like, the news items, that's just me, so you can blame me for any typo there. Okay. But also, like, when I write stories, or some of the, like the CPU thermal scripting article that I've been working on for weeks and weeks and months, man, I want to be near this. That I'm doing all the editing for, because that's not going to go up on OCC. I don't think it'd be so interesting.
It would serve us well to wield such a
So that'll just be me editing that one.
Round here, all we worry about is top dog cockblocker. Some say he can only be dealt with one way. Shoot him dead. If I would have gone up against him, I'd have filled my stash up with ammo. But I won't, since I don't want to die. And I ain't got no heater.
There.
That place is tight.
Whoa.
Very hard.
Oh. 1, 2. I think there is a spot that you can snipe them. Like this fuel tank's on them, but yeah.
most fails to recognize the sacred.
Can you talk more about my philosophy on QA? But also want to get to that Battlefield 2042 was not the only game to have a delay announced this week. Dying Light 2 is also being delayed from December to February 4th. Yeah, I needed to check that exact date. Which, in a way, I'm thankful for, because it's, I want to do, I want to go through Dying Light 1 Enhanced Edition, so with all the, Platinum Edition. With the DLC, I want to do that before getting to Dying Light 2. And it's giving me more time. I appreciate it. It still is, when I finish editing and putting up the GPU article, that's what I'm going to be getting to next. Unless there's something more pressing that comes up. But that is my plan currently. So I would have beaten the December date, most likely, but yeah. But yeah, just getting back to my QA philosophy thing, the whole protecting people from being stupid. It's really any role, like an editor as well, that is to just catch the mistakes and either report them or have them fixed. Using that same kind of idea. Is about protecting, because if you weren't stupid, you would make no mistakes, right? That's kind of the idea. And a lot of bugs really are just mistakes. Truly, that is the case. That a lot of it is just, oh, we didn't consider the situation, or oh, we fat-fingered the wrong number. This, that, and the other thing. A lot of them are completely like that, where it's pure accident. But in theory, if somebody had just approached things a little differently or thought a little more carefully on something, it wouldn't have happened. here so I can take the thing out when I'm through. And let me see, what else do I have? Okay, it's just that. Oh, yeah, also that. Did I forget? Did I miss one? Because with the THQ sale, it's like, why is Red Faction not? And then I saw, apparently it went to Deep Silver. When did that happen?
It's that guy! Raggedy Man! The top dog will handle this scum!
And I saw Risen was one of the things in sales, like, that went to Deep Silver after original THQ folded. So when did that change? I guess I just forgot. Which is definitely possible that I just forgot, but it's, you know, also one of those, I mean, you know, kind of a good thing for Red Faction to go to Deep Silver, because, I mean, Volition has it, well, would be able to do it then. And maybe that's exactly why, maybe that's exactly something that I said whenever that news was, and I've just forgotten. But the other thing, the last thing that I have noted is, it is neat. It is definitely a neat thing. Water. And my brain's partially tuning off because I'm just trying to think of how best to discuss it. So somebody started a thread on the forum, and it relates. Somebody started a thread on the forum talking about, you know, basically what happened, because the forums used to be much more active than they are today, and it's, you know, not great to see that. I was too close to do that. But, you know, I personally just think it's that, you know, a lot of people, we just, you know, moved on with our lives, or just started being less social on the forums, you know, can be social in other ways. I know that for me, I don't like necessarily, you know, I'm a fairly private person is the point I'm getting at, so it's like, yeah, I wrote a book, I'm probably not going to put anything up on the forum talking about it. Whenever that goes live, whenever I, you know, ultimately publish that. And that's just how I am. But no, I could see that it's just, you know, other people have other ways of communicating and such. And that's what they've gone to. But one thing, though, that was mentioned was how people miss the science-y articles that I wrote, which have been curtailed for two reasons. One is that Google demands we do so many words for it to be happy with giving us ads and ad revenue. And another is that the place that I used the feeds from for all the science stuff, they decided to do an update. And I mentioned this however many weeks ago now. Yeah, and this update was basically, we're gonna, you know, cease all functionality that we had before, and you can try doing this new thing that really nobody, I think, really wants to have. I mean, it really was one of those, I feel, where it's whoever is in charge, it's like, I have an idea, and this is how it should be done, and it would be so much better if we do it that way, so let's abandon everything that we have. And I do kind of hope that they saw their numbers fall precipitously because of that. I'm sorry, I just hate the mentality of the just, like, oh, we're in charge now, so that means then that we can abandon everything that was built up, that was developed before, because we're in charge now and we just have different ideas, and because we're in charge and there are different ideas than what were being used before, that must mean that they're better. It's like, no, it's not at all what it means. I mean, you do need to have a respect for that which was before you. Because you are only where you are now because of what was before you. If you abandon what you had before you, you're going backwards. That is how that works. I mean, it's, you know, kind of the whole those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it thing. If you ignore the past, then you're gonna be trying to solve the problems of the past, but in the future. I mean, it's... Oh, there's a war cry. I didn't even... Yeah, I guess I did hear him.
Careful!
Gassy!
Come on! It's you.
But the only other thing I have, which relates to the story, to what I was talking about people liking the sciencey stories, was something from MIT. Because fortunately, that I just follow that RSS feed directly. That's not something that was going through that service. They made a very interesting discovery concerning white graphene. Better, well, actually, no, it might be better known as white graphene. But, it's chemically known as boron nitride. So first I'll explain graphene, because it does... Understanding graphene a little bit will help understand the other stuff.
Riker's unreal!
Ow. I was hoping to push him into the fire. Aw, oh, man. He does not want to go in. So graphene, let's see, was discovered 17 years ago now, which is kind of nuts. But it is an atom-thick sheet of carbon, and it forms a hexagonal structure. Looks like chicken wire, but it's, you know, atoms. And just as a fun fact, it is called an allotrope. Allotropes are with the same material. Well, it's the same it's all the same element, but has a different structure. So like diamond, graphite, graphene, and carbon nanotubes, and some other stuff would all be allotropes of carbon. But anyway, it has that structure, and it has some very, very interesting properties, like being very highly conductive. Has very high electron mobility. It's the way it actually works is not as simple as just high conductivity. It's really cool though. Yeah, I can quickly explain that, even though it has nothing to do with the story from this week. So normally, the relationship between the speed of an electron and the energy of an electron is an exponential curve. Pretty sure it is. But it is an actual curve like that. Okay? So this keeps the speed in check then. Because it eventually takes more energy to speed up, you know, diminishing returns kind of stuff. Graphene, however, has the shape of that is what's called a Dirac cone. And that means that the relationship is actually linear, which is all kinds of neat, because that means that the electrons are able to move at relativistic speeds. So graphene is actually considered by some for doing research into particle accelerators, because in theory you could have a I'm gonna fill up. you could do, relativistic collisions of electrons, at least on graphene, or at least use it in weird and wonderful ways in conjunction with more traditional accelerators. But one thing about graphene that is really neat, and this does directly relate to the story and also to its structure, is that it if you have two sheets of it at the right angle, well, at various angles, you get new properties to emerge. One of them is actually superconductivity, and it's an unconventional form of superconductivity. When it's at just the right angle, though, that happens. And it's really neat, right? Where am I going? Ah, that's where I want to go. I wanted to do that. Well, graphene, it's because of that hexagonal structure and such that you can have that happen. Nah, let's just keep going. Okay, well, boron nitride is referred to as white graphene because it also has this hexagonal structure, even though it's not a pure element. It's in boron and nitrogen, hence boron nitride. Well, what the researchers at MIT were doing, and they were doing at a lab, and one of them is actually one of the people that discovered the whole, the right angle for graphene makes it superconducting. They found that at the right angle, with white graphene, you would have it be ferroelectric. Which, what the hell does that mean? Well, the ferro should give you the hint that it has something to do with magnetism. And electric, being tied in there, is certainly an interesting situation then. What they found is that at the right angle, you can actually have white graphene become magnetically polarized, where the positive and negative particles spontaneously separate and go to different sides. And to be clear, we're talking about scientific spontaneity, where that just means that the conditions have been created such that this will occur, as opposed to, the more colloquial term of spontaneous, where it's just something just suddenly happened. The situation has enabled it to happen. That is in opposition to stimulated. Damn it. Where stimulated is, no, you actually are directly causing to happen.
Scrap this tribe off!
Yes, I am. Because I can't catch it. Alright, an easy example would be a light bulb versus a laser. Well, like a traditional incandescent light bulb. Because that would be spontaneous light emission. Because you've created the situation by heating up the filament for it to glow. As opposed to a laser, which, it's an acronym, light amplification by the stimulated emission of radiation. It is in fact a stimulated emission of light, production of light. Come on, Chumbug. But yeah, so with the ferroelectric, it not only has this spontaneous ferocity to it, this spontaneous polarization charge, but it is also something that can be controlled electrically. There we go. So if you apply an electric field to it, it will actually flip the polarity. And as they point out, this is the polarity flipping like that. It actually will stay. They didn't necessarily say how long, but implied for quite a while, which means that there's potential then for this being used for data store. Because so long as you can keep an errant electric field from being applied, it'll stay. The data won't be rewritten. And it's worth noting that this could be used for ultra-dense memory, since we're talking about something 2 atoms thick. You kinda can't get much denser than that. At least not easily. But yeah, and they found that it was just, by getting the right angle between the 2 layers. And also, come on, brain, turn over. Ooh. Well, going that way, so I should be able to get down, get that without engaging. They also found, though, that when they went to a different angle, they observed a kind of ferroelectric phenomena that has not been observed before, that they really did not understand what that was. So that's something that they will investigate further. But there's also just the whole, having found this, it's like, what might they come to find in the future? Because that's one of the things with graphene. Once that was discovered and isolated, it's like, wait, we can make 2-dimensional materials? It's like, what else is possible? And then you end up seeing things like white graphene being developed, and there are others. I don't remember all of them. There's actually other forms of carbon, too. There's other graphene... Ah, damn it, they are coming down this way.
Poor boy horde approaches!
There we go.
Look out! Firebird!
And... there... it might be tight. But yeah, once having found this with white graphene, they are going to now be searching for ways to make other ferroelectric materials in a similar manner. But it's also just, the whole discovery of having a another 2-dimensional material that so changes its properties just by the angle between the layers. It really is a significant discovery in that regard. Yeah. And by the way, the whole, you can't really get denser than a 2-atom thick thing like that, layers. I mean, there would have to be some width to the layers, but, that's more room for domains for storing the bits. But anyway, for those being like, oh, well, you could, encode information to a single atom, qubit. Yeah, but you also need the situation for storing a qubit, which I would wager would be larger than than the equipment you would need to store and retrieve off of the white graphene thing. So I think you might, at least for the time being, it would be the ferroelectric white graphene that would win in that competition. And there is also quantum computing is very interesting, but personally, I don't I don't know how much it's going to be revolutionary some people want it to be, or some people present it as being. And I guess one tongue-in-cheek way to put it is, quantum computer isn't going to be able to play Crisis. I mean, technically, it might be able to. But that's not what the use case will be, I think, ever. Even if they do figure out how to make units that could be in the home. I just... Where it would be strong isn't somewhere that most users need. I mean, just think back. As much as the bulldozer architecture and its derivatives were maligned, AMD did their research, and part of the thinking behind the design was the majority of what people use their computers for, they need integer processing. So they had 2 integer cores to every 1 floating point core in the bulldozer designs. Which is part of the reason why some tried to claim that they were not like true 8 cores, because it would be 8 integer cores and 4 floating points. But it's like, if the majority of what we're doing is fine with integers, we don't really need, quantum computing then, do we? Yeah, I'll leave that. And over there. How long have I been going? Yeah, I'll just head over there then. I was just trying to decide the best path to get over there. And there's also the whole, why would you, what would you do with a quantum computer if you had that capability, if you had access to one? Which technically you do, because of IBM's thing. But, it's just... in theory, you might be able to make a quantum version of Crisis. I'd be almost shocked if somebody hasn't already started working on a quantum version of Doom. I mean, there are people... There are people that make versions of Doom to run on BIOS chips. So, yeah, you would think that there will be a quantum version of Doom. I was not sure if I was going to make that jump. But it's just, that's not really what their use case would be. So yeah, I don't necessarily see it as a as something that's going to come to consumers. But it is also, it wouldn't reach that point for, I'd like to say decades, but I'd probably be proven wrong. So let's just say a decade. And it's, do you really think that that's gonna be what they do? That they will find a way to get applications that we use commonly? You think that they're gonna just, port those over to quantum processors, quantum computers, so that we can use them in our home? It just... And we still don't see games making use of, every core, every thread. Are we really gonna see games making use of every superposition of a qubit? That doesn't seem very likely. Okay, how do I get up? go down. Yeah, it also just occurred to me. It's like we don't even make good use or have a good understanding of AI systems. And yet, you know, you really want to think that the future is going to be quantum computers in your home? Kinda doubt it. And I do fully intend to make fun of the machine learning stuff, just because of the context of it's all guesswork. It really is. That's what the machine learning stuff does, is it makes guesses. They're educated guesses. And
I don't mean to question your saintly man.
they're getting better and better at making the educated guesses. But they're still educated guesses. And people do seem intent on forgetting that. Or at least some intent on not fully acknowledging. But it is also, I do kind of wonder, like, assuming I had the skills necessary to take advantage of some machine learning algorithm, what would I use it for? Like, what would I try to do with that? I really don't know. I don't know if there would be a data processing thing that would be useful for me. I mean, I guess in theory there could be something along lines of better modeling to predict like frame time performance. But I that doesn't seem like what people would be interested in doing. Okay, you know what? Yeah, that's true. There is actually one thing that could be done with a machine learning system. I know that because those systems actually do exist, but I don't have one. It would be awesome to have them. So I've talked about it plenty of times before. That one of the other things I do is I record videos while connected to an oximeter, a heart rate monitor. So we can see then how the video game impacts my heart rate. I also use a gaze tracker for that as well. Now what would be really neat is if instead of being on the oximeter, the heck? Is if I could instead use, there is one left in there. That's why that's still marked like that. Wow. Is if instead of that I could use, and these systems do exist, a webcam that it observes the micro flushing of your skin. Every time your heart beats, there's a little bit more, your blood pressure increases at least a small amount, and that causes your face to flush. Well, I think it actually might be any of your skin, but in any case, you can have the micro flushing on your skin actually be picked up by a webcam, and then that can be used to figure out what your heart rate is, completely in a non-invasive manner. Oximeters are also non-invasive, but they're uncomfortable. I mean, when you're wearing it for hours at a time, it does get uncomfortable. Yeah. So it's like, that would be nice. And I want to say that that is actually a machine learning application where they use that for doing the processing and figuring out what is, what your heart rate is more accurately. Or at least better, if not more accurately, because as I was saying, they're all guesses. But figuring out better, what is and is not microflushing of your face. Alright. In theory, I could also see there being... Well, yeah, that is actually true. I do use... Like, right now, I'm technically using a machine learning system. The RNN noise suppression built into OBS Studio now. It's like, yeah, I actually am taking advantage of that. It would be neat to see that improve. It doesn't necessarily need to be. It does an excellent job. Like, almost scary good job. Like, I mean, it is always weird to see any of the examples, whether it's RNN or the RTX noise. No, RTX voice, they call it. Yeah, this is a secret entrance to it. That's not where I need to look. I think I once made that mistake and did. And it's not the easiest thing to do, especially not backwards. Yeah, it's weird when you see examples of those technologies, the AI-assisted noise suppression technologies, where, you know, you just turn it on while somebody has a fan going that's basically blowing at the mic, and somehow it's quiet. It's gone. It's just the microphone. It's just the voice. Hell, that actually happened to me. Because at one point when I was testing it was at a time when it was like in the middle of summer, so I had the fan going in the room, and it did actually cut it out very nicely. Where is this last one? Not sure where we got that music.
Got the car.
Yes, I will protect your sake. But don't be long.
Let me...
Please.
I did climb up there and I got one. It's likely not outside the doors. I was a little distracted when I came... Oh, it's right there. So yeah, and you know, I guess I do take advantage of different machine learning algorithms, even though I don't, you know, work on any of them. It would be neat to learn to do some of that stuff, but it's also I'm concerned that nothing I do would really benefit from it. I know it's a terrible idea, but I want to do it.
Coming in this. Not right away.
Alright. Come on, brain. Turn over. I feel like there's more I can say. Oh yeah, that's right. Also the optical character recognition, which is a decades-old form of machine learning. It's been a long time since I've done anything that uses that. But it still is. That is something that I have taken advantage of before. And I actually saw some news. Phoronix had it. Ooh, perfect. Minefield. Now I know where that is. Oof. But you guys don't see me. You don't mind me. Okay. But yeah, Veronic's covered an update to Tesseract. And it, oh, the other one is over here. Is that... Okay, it is marked. Good. And I think it suggested that it could be done by a command line of images, which would be kind of neat as well, to be able to just, you know, feed images in that you have by any means. Woo! But as far as, like, the image enhancement stuff, it would be neat. You know, some of that stuff is neat, but it's not like I expressly need that for anything. So I would enjoy experimenting with some of them. Just as far as, you know, experimenting with them, seeing what all you can do with them, or finding their weaknesses. Because some of them definitely have some. You know what? I can do this a little differently, because if I get too close, it will just trigger... It'll just trigger my seeing pink eye, and I don't want to do that just yet. Oof. Made it though. Just trying to think, what else can I talk about? Yes, you know, what am I going to be doing next week? I'm going to keep working. I almost had the CPU thermal thing edited. I do have the, it edited through almost all the scripts. I had that done, and then it's like, okay, so I can get to the data stuff, with the result stuff, which shouldn't be too bad, shouldn't be too long. But then I realized, oh wait, I forgot one script. It's not even that important of a script, but it is one that I want to cover nonetheless. It's the one for renaming the graphs so I can upload them. Whoops. This, I can go this way. This is a bridge I kept being at so many videos ago. It's still trying to follow me, so I'm gonna keep going off-road. You know, it did just occur to me though, I could shoot it. I'm going to Jeets. He will refill my ammo. If it gets closer, I will do that. It may have given up now. Yeah, so I'll keep working that. Once I have that done, and I hope to have that done, like, middle of next week. It depends. It really does depend. Then I'll get to work on the GPU thing, which that will take much longer, because there's more to it. Yeah, the CPU Films article was about 100 pages. It's going to be long now, more like 115, I think, is what it'll end up being. Hey, I cover a lot in it, okay? So relax on it being that long. Don't forget, it's not going live on a OCC. The GPU article, though, that is currently 150, and that actually shouldn't change much. Well, no, it'll reduce, actually, because I realized I was overwriting for some of the stuff, so I will cut out a lot. Basically, I realized I kept basically writing out the things that are written in tables that are going to be in the articles, so I don't need to do that. So it'll end up being shorter, but it still is going through all that is going to take me a while. And at the same time, I also have, you know, I mentioned last week and the week before, I have an actual job that pays me. I actually got my first paycheck this week. So it's like, I gotta deal with that. I have to, you know, do that stuff. Are you kidding me? It's the same car. Because it was already damaged. That's how I know it was the same car. But, yeah, so that's 4 hours a day that I lose. Well, I lose it for this other work, but, you know, the stuff I get paid for, obviously I'm not losing that. So yeah, that it's going to take me a while to go through the GPU article, is my point. But it should be interesting. And I actually collected some more data recently, because just this, let's just say some interesting boost behavior with some of the GPUs, and I decided, you know what, I should collect some data to see how the CPU, well, first I just looked at the CPU temperature data, because I do have that, for all the old runs, just to see, like, was the CPU thermally throttling? Could it be that the boost behavior, where suddenly the GPUs are clocking lower, could that be a result of the CPU? It's not an unreasonable hypothesis. Let me explain. If the CPU is bottlenecking the GPU, then it would make sense that the GPU may lower its frequency, right? So I wanted to look at that. And temperature, yeah, I can tell you, but, you know, if it's a lightly threaded workload, that doesn't necessarily tell you anything. Okay, nothing in here. Which means then I can just quit. So I collected some more data, which unfortunately also meant I had to I updated the AMD MuProf software for that, and they changed things with that update that they should not have changed. Just certain flags where they changed the names of them, and it's like, and also the data itself is different. It's like, why? This somebody should have been like, no, we can't do that, or at least make it an option. But yeah, because initially it recorded all in energy and millijoules, so I had the millijoules for how much the core is used, millijoules for how much the socket pulled, things like that. Yeah, they changed it to just straight watts, and it's like, you know, now all my numbers were off by a factor of 1,000, so I had to put something in there that would detect that and adapt to it. But on the bright side, it was actually, MuProf was actually recording the temperature for the test system, which it was not able to before. That's why I had to use GPU-Z. So now that works. The value is not aligning with any other measurement, but I think it could just be which sensor is being used, but it also might be AMD has an offset applied to some of the internal temperatures so that it always basically it starts throttling earlier than needs to, or at least prepares to throttle earlier than needs to reduce the need to throttle. But yeah, so that's been fun. Had to rewrite some stuff for that. But basically, yeah, looking at the data, I saw nothing to suggest, because like when the CPU boost exhausted was a different time that the boost behavior changed for the GPUs. So it's not like the CPU is no longer boosting and that's when the GPU stopped boosting. No. You can see the CPU boost end first, you can see it end last. Either way, it suggests that it is not a link there. It is something to just the GPU itself. Probably won't be using that data, but I do have it, and I will probably mention just to be like, yeah, so that's not what's going on here. It is something to the GPU. Yeah, that will be an interesting article. Hopefully it won't be next year before it goes live. I should be able to get done before then. It will take a while. It just will take a while. Alright, so stopping now. See you next time. Don't forget the THQ 10th anniversary stuff at Steam, and you can get Titan Quest Anniversary Edition Which, don't forget, that was a few games ago, the game that I went through for these streams. And it is a fun game. I also have the DLC for it, though. Which, those you still need to buy. It's only the base game that's free. But seriously, go and pick it up. It's a very good game. How many hours do I have in it? I'll quickly look. Because I can. 164 hours in total. Now, true, it has been more than a year since I've launched it. I still have it installed, though. But it is a good game. You know, it's a good game, easy to recommend, and at free, you can't really go wrong now, can you? Alright, yeah, so just see you next time.